The goal of this video is to introduce you to Asif Sheikh, the renowned designer and craftsman from Ahmedabad, India. The journey will begin with a brief introduction to Asif and his passionate mission to revive the beautiful art of Indian embroidery, one of the most richly diverse and accomplished in the world. It will include a brief history of traditional Indian embroidery, describe the centuries-old Karchob embroidery technique that uses a wooden frame to hold the fabric as it is embroidered, show how the frame is set up in his workshop in Ahmedabad, how the cloth is attached to the frame and the various tools and stitches used for the embroidery. The traditional and modern galleries show examples of Asif's magnificent textiles as displayed in exhibitions and showcased by models in high fashion shows. A list of materials and plans show you how you can build and set up your own Karchob. Asif Sheikh was born in Ahmedabad, India, a city known for its rich textile culture and heritage. It has been inhabited since the 11th century. There are a number of educational and research institutes located here, including the National Institute of Design and the world-famous Calico Textile Museum. Though receiving his degree in interior design at the Center for Environmental Planning and Technology University in Ahmedabad, after graduation Asif followed his true love and passion for embroidery, opening his studio and workshop in Ahmedabad in 2002 and launching his own designer label, Asif. Asif creates elaborate designs and patterns for his one-of-a-kind art pieces. He uses traditional embroidery techniques and motifs, but gives them a contemporary look for his own textiles. Asif creates elaborate designs and patterns for his one-of-a-kind art pieces. He uses traditional embroidery techniques and motifs, but gives them a contemporary look for his own textiles and when embellishing textiles of other artists. There are many different kinds of classic Indian embroidery. We will be looking at those traditional to the Gujurat area. Gujarat has the longest coastline in India, facilitating the exchange of yarns, laces, beads, and sequins with the Portuguese, English, and French traders of old. Lots of high-quality embroidered textiles were created for trade using classic and indigenous designs. The Mughals' frame was the Karchob or scroll frame. It attained the height of its popularity in the 17th century under the patronage of the Mughal Emperor Akbar. In the late 17th and 18th centuries, the royal princely state of Gujarat was fragmented into small kingdoms ruled by royal families selected by the Mughal emperor. Their affluent lifestyle created a demand for beautiful works that required very highly skilled artisans to create. These artisans lived close together. Their guilds flourished with commissions from the courts and palaces, which desired soft personal attire. A well-known example of these times is the Mochi Kam embroiderer from the school of Kutch. Mochis were the leather workers who used the chain stitch in their work. The Kutch school of embroidery created various products for domestic home decorations, personal costumes, and export. Surfaces were extensively covered with fine chain stitch using silk thread and various twists. Patterns were inspired by folk motifs. This trend was seen in most of the artistic traditions across the subcontinent. The fabric was generally fine atlas or beaten silk, mashro or satin weave, and gaji silk. Under the rule of Emperor Aurangzeb, the royal patronage ended, leading to the decline of the craft. As the materials were expensive and rare, craftsmen could not continue to produce embroidery without a market. During the period of Aurangzeb, the craftsmen moved to Delhi and the courts of Rajasthan and Punjab provinces in search of work. As times changed, industrialization with increasing mass production by faster and cheaper machine work gradually replaced hand embroidery. By the early 20th century, hand-embroidered textiles lost their dominance in the consumer market as its former customers bought the cheaper goods. The result was the collapse of fine embroidery market and the disappearance of those skilled artisans who made it. Asif has taken on the challenge to revive the classic embroidery skills and techniques. He has trained his artists in classic design and technique and has traveled to educate textile lovers and received much acclaim for this mission. Fortunately, today's fashion trends, encouraged by the many design schools and institutions that support the modern design industry, have created a new demand for beautiful handmade textiles and fine embroidery. Asif's work is so highly esteemed by textile authorities that he was chosen to revive 18th century Aari needle embroidery technique for the Victoria and Albert Museum in London, the most renowned textile museum in the world. It has extensive collections of antique Indian embroidery work that were exported to Europe in past centuries. The basic characteristics of the designs is Kuchi in origin. Chain stitch was used as the basic stitch, colors were predominantly red, blue, green, and yellow, and the motifs outlined with black thread. They were mainly embroidered on gathered silk. The V&A Museum asked Asif to create a collection of Kuchi embroidery that referenced the antique original motifs. Asif further developed and refined the shapes, colors, and proportions of the original motifs to create modern masterpieces using Aari needle and twisted silk floss. Badla metalwork and sequins have also been used to enhance the look. The colors are modern in approach. The motifs are outlined with a tonal shade completely avoiding black. The arrangement of motifs is also different. Asif also created miniature motifs using the same elements, reducing them to about half the scale of the original motifs. The Aari needle with a single ply of twisted floss is used for the embroidery. In these miniatures, metal thread and sequins are avoided. The UNESCO Parser Foundation chose Asif to revive Parsi Gara embroidery as part of its Parser project to preserve the culture of Zoroastrian Parsis who migrated to India from Persia in the 8th to 10th centuries to avoid religious persecution. Asif received the coveted UNESCO Award of Excellence in Handicrafts in 2012 for his Kamdani metalwork embroidery. In 2014, Asif received the World Crafts Council's Award of Excellence in Handicrafts for his Aari embroidery. Asif believes that in order to meet the competition from industrialization and to accomplish his mission to keep India's rich embroidery traditions alive, and to reach the highest artistic potential of these new fabrics, that the workers in his studio must be trained to become skilled artisans, as well as to understand, appreciate, and take pride in the work they produce. This means that he must educate them in the history of embroidery and train and support them as they learn to perfect the skills necessary to create these works of art. In order to provide the income for this mission, Asif must compete in the global market. He accomplishes this by using traditional motifs and designs in ways that appeal to modern taste while keeping the basic characteristics intact so that all can appreciate their beauty and heritage. Asif produces textiles for women's wear, men's wear, and accessories. He now also has his own range of decorative textiles for use in home interior design and decoration. Each product is meticulously designed to appeal to local, national, and international textile lovers. In the Karchob technique, the cloth to be embroidered first must be stretched tightly and evenly on the frame. The Karchob has two ada, or vertical bars. The shamshir are two horizontal bars. These wooden bars are fixed to each other using nails placed against the ada and into round holes in the shamsher, forming a rigid rectangle. There are evenly spaced holes along the length of the ada. Cord is passed through these holes, pulled tight, and then tied. A length of cotton belt, or betham, is then sewn to the cord with strong cotton thread. The free edges of the two betham are then temporarily stitched together to keep them in alignment.
Mughal came with this frame in 15th century, and from there traditionally we are using this frame for the embroidery. This is the first step to tie a frame. This is called betham. First they tie betham together, then they will stretch the betham. These bars are fixed with each other on all four sides using nail. Karchob is placed on a stand.
Opposite ends of the fabric to be embroidered are then attached to the betham with strong thread using a crisscross stitch. This will keep the selvages of the fabric straight.
Then this process is known as a betham tying. This is the most important stage where the fabric needs to be attached with precision, considering the grain line of the fabric parallel to the bars of the karchob.
Once the fabric is secured, the tension of the thread is manually adjusted so the warp and weft threads of the fabric are parallel to each other. This makes it easy for the embroiderer to move the needle in and out of the fabric very rapidly.
Yeah, they are measuring both the edges because we need the fabric in proper tension. Both the sides, it has to be equally tensioned. So grain line has to be straight. They have to put so much pressure. Now it's very hard.
The next step involves stretching and placing tension on the fabric. First, its free edges are strengthened by oversewing with strong thread. This is known as pastak tying. The fabric is then attached to the shamsher bars by wrapping 3-ply cotton thread known as suth around the beam.
This is done by passing the needle known as a sutta, 4-inch long needle.
The Karchob frame is placed on a stand and the craftsperson sits on the floor while working on different sections of the design. Both hands are free for the work. The frame also provides much needed support for the hands and arms of the embroiderer, who usually works long hours. Furthermore, the size of the Karchob can be extended up to 1.5 meters wide and 3 meters in length for large textiles such as saris, allowing up to 20 embroiderers to work on the same piece at the same time, permitting the scale necessary required for modern demand. Embroidery begins with the drawing of the pattern and its motifs on butter paper. Tiny holes are punched through the paper in close proximity along the drawn lines, creating a stencil.
Yeah, this is the stencil. This is polyester sheet, what we use for making our stencils.
The butter paper stencil is placed over the fabric to be embroidered, and a colored powder gently brushed across it. thus transferring colored dots to the fabric through the perforations. Two types of embroidery can be done on the Karchob: Aari, or chain stitch with silk and metal thread, and Zardozi with metal thread and strips using a regular needle. The Aari needle has a notch that catches the thread below the fabric.
This is the Aari needle which they use for chain stitch on Karchob. This is a crochet kind of needle. Mainly they use umbrella wire to make a needle, and for different thickness of the thread they use different kinds of needle. So for single ply, for 2 ply, for 3 ply, for 4 ply. For sequins and beads they have different length of the needle, and they put cotton thread because you get proper grip to pull thread from the fabric. Thread is always at the bottom of the frame. You have to twist the needle, pull the thread from the fabric. Straight thread will not come out. So to pull a thread you have to twist the needle and pull the needle out. So that's the technique how to use this needle. First they will do outline on the print, then they will fill up the color.
The colors used are predominantly taken from nature. Tints and shades of different colors are used together, giving a modern look. Different thicknesses of twisted silk floss, wool, metal, and plied yarns are used for the embroidery. Motifs depict lots of kinds of flowers, birds and animals inspired from nature, and various geometric designs. The most common Aari stitch is the chain stitch that has many variations. The thread is held below the fabric and the point of the needle pushed through it. The Aari's notch captures the thread that is then pulled back through the cloth, forming a loop. The point of the Aari is once again inserted into the fabric through the newly created loop, and the process repeated to form a continuous line of chain stitch. The many variations of the simple chain stitch include using 2 or more plies of thread, twisting the loop, varying the length and width of the loop, and so forth. The Aari needle is also used to secure beads and various elements such as sequins onto the fabric using fine stitches. The complex Aari stitches most commonly used are the bat, closed lines of chains stitched to fill shapes; lote, long, closely worked chain stitch; jali, which creates a netting effect; varisha, dugdugi; kajuri; kata, or twisted chain, creating a knotted effect; and madkan.
First they will do outline on the print, then they will fill up the color. These are miniature embroideries. They use single ply for miniature embroidery, and for that they need very fine chain stitch needle.
Once the embroidery is completed, the cloth is carefully removed from the Karchob. The loose ends of the embroidery threads are trimmed. This is necessary because the fabric has been stretched on the Karchob, creating tension within it. When it is removed from the frame, the warp and weft threads are bound by the embroidery thread, tending to create puckering. When the extra thread is cut, tension is released, ensuring easy flow of the fabric. Two types of metal embroidery can be done on the Karchob: Zardozi, using a regular needle and flat metal strips, and Aari needlework using an Aari needle and metal thread. When metal thread is used for embroidery, a hammer and dabble are used to flatten the thread. The dabber is placed under the fabric surface and the hammer taps down the thread using light strokes on its upper surface, giving the embroidery a lustrous look. Zardozi uses a regular eye needle with metal threads to place chain, satin, darning, stem, and couching stitches. Vasli, Doke, and Marodi are types of Zardozi.
This is Zardozi technique. They are applying a metal strip inside the outline and this strip called badla. And in Zardozi technique, they use regular needle with cotton thread. For silver metal, they use white thread. For gold metal, they use orange thread, which is originally saffron dyed cotton thread.
Kind of embroidery what we do is called Marodi Embroidery. This is a series of fried yarn. We take 4 to 6 strands together and with the help of twisting it to a certain extent until it achieves a proper stiffness to the yarn so that we can use it for embroidery.
The twisted plied yarn is used to make a cord. The twisted cord is wrapped around the fatilla, a square 6-inch long wooden bar pointed at one end that allows the cord to be uniformly tensioned and create loops of equal size. Vasli Embroidery is named after the paper that is used between the thread and the cloth. Several layers are cut into shapes of the motifs, pasted together and stitched onto the fabric. Multiple strands of metallic threads are used over the paper pieces, leaving a well-defined edge. Hammer taps compress the stitches, leaving a soft sheen. Doke uses floral and geometric motifs on a foundation padding of soft, thick cotton threads to create elegant embossed surfaces. The padded surface is then covered with different metal threads, including badla. The raised surface at the center of the motif tapers to the pointed edges. Kamdani, lighter than Zardozi, is worked with badla as its only metal element. Badla strips are used like thread to create elements and a variety of stitches. Floral motifs and small dots are popular. Asif produces textiles for women's wear, men's wear, and accessories. As it was for royal patrons in years gone by, each product is meticulously designed to appeal to local, national, and international textile lovers. Asif's textiles are in great demand for special occasions such as weddings, celebrations, and other large social festivities. His talent for planning these operations is also well known. He accepts clients that he knows will appreciate the beauty and unique quality of his work, thereby supporting his mission to preserve and strengthen Indian embroidery's cultural heritage.
From India, we present you Asif Shaikh. Asif fuses fabric and embroidery using elaborate designs and patterns onto his fashion textile. and he uses traditional embroidery in his creations, but gives them a contemporary look. Asif's work is so highly esteemed that he was chosen to revive 18th century Aari Embroidery for the Victoria and Albert Museum in London, and Partzigara Embroidery for the UNESCO Parzo Foundation.
Our next designer is Asif. He comes from India.
Materials for your Karchob are available at lumber yards and most hardware stores. You should be able to find them for less than $20 US. Cotton belt and thread material are available at hardware and fabric stores. You can cut the holes in the ada to receive the shamshir with a drill and a jigsaw or saber saw. A 3/16 inch drill can be used for the cord and the nail holes. You are ready to assemble your Karchob. You can sand and finish the pieces if you wish. The next step is to attach the cord. Watch the video for details. Good luck for creating a beautiful work of art.